In the gentle bloom of young love, two souls found themselves entangled in a romance that seemed written in the stars. Their story began like many others, shy glances across crowded rooms, late-night conversations that stretched until dawn, and promises whispered beneath a canopy of stars. With each shared moment, each carefully preserved petal from bouquets exchanged on anniversaries. Yet beneath the surface of their picture-perfect relationship, shadows lengthened as the boy's attention began to wander. As she pressed another petal between the pages of her journal, was how easily promises could wither when tested by temptation. Beneath the falling cherry blossoms where sunlight dances through pink petals, two souls meet for the first time, her eyes wide with wonder, his smile gentle and inviting. This is where their story begins, not with grand gestures or declarations, but with a simple glance that somehow holds the promise of forever. She sits on a wooden bench sketching the dancing petals. He approaches with hesitation, their first words lost in the symphony of spring, yet somehow more meaningful than any conversation they'd ever had. Their love blooms quickly like the cherry blossoms overhead, each moment together writing a new chapter in their story. Nights become their sanctuary as city lights blur past the windows of his car. She leans out, feeling the wind caress her face as if trying to capture freedom itself. He watches her, his eyes reflecting the neon lights of the city, but also something deeper, a love that feels as vast as the night sky above them. These midnight drives become their ritual, their escape from the world that demands too much yet gives too little. Mornings in their small apartment become paintings of domestic bliss. She wears his oversized hoodie as she prepares breakfast, the scent of coffee mixing with the promise of a new day together. He embraces her from behind, his lips finding the curve of her neck in a gesture so tender it speaks volumes without words. Sunlight streams through their window illuminating the life they've built together. Small plants line the windowsill, growing alongside their love. Handwritten notes decorate their refrigerator, tiny paper monuments to their affection. But love, like all beautiful things, carries within it the seeds of its own destruction. The first signs appear like shadows, barely noticed at first. His messages become shorter, less frequent, her calls increasingly unanswered. One rainy night she stands beneath a street lamp, the glow creating a halo around her as she checks her phone for the 100th time. The message she waits for never arrives. Raindrops mingle with tears on her cheeks as she looks up through the downpour, only to see him through the window of a cafe, laughing with another girl. The sight pierces her heart like a shard of glass. She tells herself it's nothing, just a friend, just a colleague, just her imagination running wild. But doubt, once planted, grows like a weed, choking everything beautiful in its path. She surprises him one evening with roses clutched in trembling hands. She follows the hotel concierge's directions, her heart pounding with each step down the plush carpeted hallway. The door isn't fully closed. A sliver of golden light spills into the corridor, inviting her into a nightmare made real. The bouquet falls from her hands, petals scattering across the floor like droplets of blood, each one a dying promise. He sees her frozen in the doorway, his arms still wrapped around another woman. His expression transforms from shock to guilt to something worse, resignation, as if he'd always known this moment would come. The other woman smiles, not with malice but with pity, a look that cuts deeper than hatred ever could. She runs blindly through rain-soaked streets, her lungs burning, her vision blurred. She calls his name as he walks away without turning back. Each step he takes carves a deeper wound into her heart. Car headlights illuminate her desperate pursuit, casting her shadow in alternating shades of red and blue, like police lights at the scene of a crime, which in many ways this is, the murder of what they once were, the death of possibilities that will never come to pass. Days later, she sits alone on the same bench where they first met, the cruel symmetry not lost on her. What was once the beginning now becomes the epilogue. Autumn leaves spiral down around her, replacing spring's cherry blossoms, nature's reminder that everything beautiful must eventually fall. She holds a letter she wrote but will never send. Words of anger and love and grief and forgiveness too complex to ever be fully expressed. The setting sun stretches her shadow long across the ground as his figure disappears into the distance for the final time. Back in their apartment, now just hers, she stares at her reflection in a mirror now cracked, the fractures distorting her tear-stained face into something unrecognizable. just as his betrayal has transformed her into someone she no longer knows. Scattered across her vanity lie the artifacts of their love, letters now crumpled, photographs torn in half, a single rose now brown and brittle. Candles burn low, casting dancing shadows that seem to mock the light that once filled the space. Unable to bear the weight of memories that haunt every corner, she packs a single suitcase, the essentials of a life being rebuilt from ruins. She drives as the day fades behind her, the city skyline diminishing in her rearview mirror with each mile. Tears flow freely now, not just for him but for the person she was, the dreams they shared, the future now rewritten. The open road ahead offers no answers, only distance from the pain that threatens to consume her. Days turn to weeks, turn to months, until finally she stands at the ocean's edge as dawn breaks over the horizon, barefoot in the sand. She feels the earth steady beneath her for the first time since everything fell apart. Waves crash against the shore with hypnotic rhythm, washing away footprints just as time has begun to soften the sharpest edges of her pain. The sky transforms from darkness to the softest pink to gold, a visual reminder that even the darkest night eventually yields to morning. Her hand reaches for her heart, feeling its steady rhythm, no longer shattered but scarred, stronger at the broken places. She inhales the salt air, filling her lungs with possibility. The wind carries away the last whispers of what was, making room for what might be. A single tear falls, not of sorrow but of release, of gratitude even for the pain that taught her the depth of her own resilience. A faint smile forms on her lips, not because the story had a happy ending, but because she finally understands there is no ending at all, only chapters. Some beautiful, some painful, but all necessary in the greater story of becoming.